In 1809, somewhere off the coast of southern China, an imperial fleet prepared for battle. They had orders from the emperor. They had spent months preparing, and they believed they were ready. Then they looked toward the horizon and saw 1,800 pirate ships. Every one of them was a junk. Not junk as in something worthless. A junk was a Chinese sailing vessel whose design had been evolving for more than 2,000 years. And in the hands of one extraordinary woman, these ships became the foundation of the largest pirate fleet in recorded history. The Navy that confronted them in 1809 did not win. The Navy before it had not won either, and the one before that had been destroyed so badly that its commanding officer was executed for incompetence. 3 defeats, and behind them was a ship that European sailors had often dismissed as primitive. But the Chinese junk was anything but primitive. When Marco Polo encountered Chinese junks in the 13th century, he described vessels containing 50 to 60 cabins. During the voyages of Admiral Zheng He in the 1400s, some junks were reportedly as much as 400 feet long. But their greatest advantage was not simply size. It was engineering. Western ships relied heavily on a central keel running along the bottom of the hull. Chinese shipbuilders in Fujian province used a different approach. They built internal bulkheads, solid wooden partitions dividing the hull into 12 or more separate compartments. The hulls were constructed mainly from camphor, pine, and fir timber, using traditional joinery, and caulk made from ramie fiber, lime, and tung oil. The principle resembled a bamboo stalk, separate chambers, one after another. If the ship struck a reef and water entered one section, the flooding could remain contained. The rest of the vessel could stay afloat. The Moroccan traveler Ibn Battuta described this feature in the 1300s after traveling on Chinese ships. Europe would not adopt comparable watertight compartment technology for centuries. In 1795, British naval inspector Sir Samuel Bentham argued that the Royal Navy should copy the system after seeing Chinese junks firsthand during his visit to China in 1782. The Navy ignored him. The junk's sails were equally clever. Instead of relying on enormous European-style square sails, Chinese vessels used sails reinforced with horizontal bamboo battens. These allowed crews to control sections of the sail and reef them without sending sailors high into the rigging during dangerous weather. The arrangement also allowed junks to tack into headwinds, and because their sail systems required fewer men to operate, more crew members could be used for other jobs, such as firing cannons. Then came the rudder. Chinese shipbuilders placed the rudder along the center line of the hull. Some rudders even contained holes through the blade, allowing water to pass through and reducing drag. This technology appeared in China as early as the 1st century. Europe would not develop its own version of the stern-mounted rudder for another 1,000 years. Put everything together, and the junk became a remarkably tough, maneuverable, and difficult-to-sink vessel. But one feature made it particularly dangerous in the hands of pirates. It had a shallow draft. Without a deep keel, and with a retractable rudder that could be raised through a watertight housing, a junk could enter shallow bays, river mouths, and narrow coastal channels, where deeper warships risked running aground. Pirates could hide behind mangrove islands. They could approach merchant vessels at anchor. They could even send small boats carrying 20 men and swivel cannons toward a target, while the main ship remained hidden. And when the Navy came searching, the pirates could disappear into waters too shallow and narrow to follow. The junk was not merely a ship. In the South China Sea, it was the perfect pirate weapon. In the late 1700s, Guangdong Province was one of the poorest regions in China. Its coast was a maze of rivers, estuaries, and roughly 700 islands. The imperial government struggled to control it. Around 1775, a girl named Shi Yang was born in Xinhui County. By her teenage years, she was working aboard a flower boat in Canton Harbor. Flower boats were floating brothels, serving merchants, sailors, and government officials. It was not a life she had chosen. But there, she learned how to read people, how to negotiate, and how power and money moved through the port. Then, in 1801, a pirate captain named Zheng Yi came aboard her flower boat. Zheng Yi came from a family with a long history of piracy, dating back to the Ming Dynasty. He had fought alongside his cousin Zheng Qi along the Vietnamese coast, where the Tai Son Dynasty had effectively sponsored Chinese pirates as privateers. But in 1802, the Tai Son regime collapsed. Zheng Qi was captured and executed. The safe harbors disappeared. Zheng Yi returned to Chinese waters with what remained of the family fleet. He was now a pirate without a patron, and he needed a partner. He proposed marriage to Shi Yang. The exact circumstances remain disputed. Some accounts say she was kidnapped. Others say she was properly courted. One story claims she fought back when she was untied and tried to claw Zheng Yi's eyes out. But every version agrees on one important detail. She demanded half of his ships and half of his wealth. Zheng Yi accepted, and their partnership would change the history of piracy. By 1805, Zheng Yi and Shi Yang had unified the scattered pirate fleets of Guangdong into one confederation. 6 fleets: red, black, white, green, blue, and yellow. Zheng Yi commanded the Red Flag Fleet, the largest of them, with 200 junks and as many as 40,000 men. Across all 6 fleets, roughly 400 junks and 70,000 pirates sailed under the Confederation. For perspective, Blackbeard commanded only 4 ships and about 300 men at his peak. This was piracy on an entirely different scale. But then, in November 1807, Zheng Yi died. Some accounts say he drowned during a typhoon. Others say a cannonball killed him in battle. Whatever the cause, the man who had united the fleets was gone. Everyone expected the Confederation to collapse. It didn't, because Shi Yang moved immediately. She secured the loyalty of Zhang Bao, the young commander of the Red Flag Fleet. Zhang Bao had been kidnapped by pirates as a boy and raised by Zheng Yi and Shi Yang as their adopted son and legal heir. The pirates trusted him. He knew the fleet, so the arrangement was simple. Zhang Bao commanded the fleet. Shi Yang commanded the Confederation. History would remember her as Zheng Yi Sao, meaning wife of Zheng Yi. But she was far more than a captain's widow. She was now the supreme leader of the largest pirate organization on Earth. Zheng Yi Sao understood that the greatest threat to a pirate empire was not always the enemy outside. It could be the people inside. So a strict code was established. Zhang Bao drafted the codes. She enforced them. A pirate who went ashore without permission could have his ears cut off, be paraded before the fleet, and then executed. Stolen goods had to be registered. Of 10 shares of plunder, the pirate who captured it kept 2. The other 8 went into a general fund. Stealing from that fund meant death. The rules concerning women were equally strict. Female captives could not be harmed or harassed. They had to be registered and given separate quarters. A pirate who raped a captive was executed. A pirate could marry a captive, but he had to remain faithful. Infidelity meant death. The brutality of these rules had a purpose. An organization containing tens of thousands of pirates could easily destroy itself through greed, jealousy, and infighting. The code kept the damage contained. Like the bulkheads inside a junk, it kept one breach from sinking the entire vessel. Under Zheng Yisao, the Confederation didn't merely survive, it exploded in size. By 1809, the fleet had grown from roughly 400 junks to 1,800. Around 70,000 pirates answered to Zheng Yisao. 200 vessels were ocean-going war junks. Each could carry 300 to 400 men and mount 20 to 30 cannons. The Red Flag flagship alone carried 38 cannons on a single deck. 2 fired 24-pound shot. These were not fishing boats. They were warships. And Zheng Yisao had built an economy to support them. The pirates raided merchant vessels and coastal villages, but that was only part of the system. Merchant captains traveling between Macau and Canton could pay for safe passage. Villages paid tribute to be left alone. Some pirate fleets sold luxury goods and foreign delicacies to remote towns where imported products were difficult to obtain. Zheng Yisao also controlled the salt trade in southwest Guangdong, drawing revenue from roughly 20 salt farms. Local politicians accepted bribes, corrupt officials looked away. The communal fund acted like a treasury. The pirates were no longer simply stealing. They were taxing, trading, enforcing laws, and controlling territory. They had effectively created a parallel government along the coast. In 1808, Zhang Bao led the Red Flag fleet against General Lin Guoliang near Maui Island. He destroyed all 35 of Lin's ships. 1 month later, he defeated Lin Fa near Waiwan Island. Then, in March 1809, provincial commander Sun Quan Mo brought a fleet of 100 ships against pirates. Zheng Yisao personally commanded reinforcements. Sun Quan Mo was defeated. 3 naval commanders had been beaten in less than a year. The junk's design was a major reason. The Guangdong coast was a maze of roughly 700 islands, rivers, canals, estuaries, and deltas. The pirates knew every passage. Their shallow draft junks could enter places where heavier government ships could not. A pursuing warship might run aground. A pirate squadron could simply scatter through multiple waterways. The Qing Navy had superior political authority. But in these waters, the pirates understood the battlefield better. Humiliated, the Qing government asked European powers for help. The Portuguese agreed. In September 1809, Portuguese warships, including the Princesa Carlota and the Belisario, engaged the pirate fleet. Their rifled cannons and explosive shells caused serious damage. But they could not destroy the Confederation. There were too many ships. The pirates were too spread out, and they knew the waters. Then, the British made a very different calculation. The East India Company exchanged gifts with the pirate leadership. Then it made a deal with Zhang Bao. British vessels carrying British cargo would be left alone. In return, the British left the pirates alone. The world's most powerful commercial organization had decided that negotiation was preferable to fighting the fleet. The pirates had become that powerful, but the greatest danger to Zheng Yisao's empire was coming from within. Guo Po Dai, leader of the Black Flag fleet, had grown jealous of Zhang Bao. In November 1809, a combined Chinese and Portuguese fleet cornered the Red Flag fleet near Lantau Island, close to what is now Hong Kong. Guo Po Dai refused to help. The Red Flag Fleet survived anyway. The Qing commanders launched fire ships, vessels loaded with explosives, and set ablaze. But the pirates diverted them toward shore. They extinguished the fires, then dismantled the vessels for firewood. And then, the wind changed. 2 remaining fire ships were blown back into the government fleet and ignited 2 of its own warships. Zhang Bao and Zheng Yisao seized the opportunity. They broke through the blockade and escaped. The government lost 3 ships and at least 74 men. The pirates lost 40 men and 0 ships. But the betrayal had exposed a weakness that cannons could not repair. In December, Cheng Pao attacked Quopo Thai's Black Flag Fleet in retaliation. Quopo Thai won, but he understood that his future inside the Confederation was over. In January 1810, he surrendered to the Qing government. He received a pardon and a job hunting pirates. A large part of the Black Flag Fleet followed him. Then, Governor General Bai Ling changed the government's strategy. Instead of relying entirely on military force, he offered rewards and amnesty to pirates who surrendered. The government kept military pressure on the remaining fleets, while offering pardons and government positions to defectors. Several thousand more pirates surrendered by the end of 1809. Zheng Yisao understood what was happening. She was still enormously powerful. Her fleet still outnumbered the Qing Navy by perhaps 3 to 1. But the Confederation was losing its unity. Foreign involvement was increasing, and the war she could win today might become impossible to win tomorrow. So she chose a different kind of victory. On April 8, 1810, Zheng Yisao walked into Governor General Bai Ling's office in Canton. She brought no fleet. She brought women and children, and she came to negotiate her surrender. The terms were extraordinary. She received full pardons for herself and the vast majority of her followers. She kept the personal wealth she had accumulated through years of plunder. She and Zhang Bao were allowed to retain 24 ships and more than 1,400 pirates as a personal protection fleet. Zhang Bao received a commission as an officer in the Qing Imperial Navy, the same navy he had spent years defeating, and the two were permitted to marry, despite remarriage for widows being technically illegal at the time. Then, on April 20th, 1810, the surrender was formalized. 17,318 pirates laid down their arms. They surrendered 226 junks, 1,315 cannons, and 2,798 assorted weapons. The largest pirate confederation in recorded history had ended, not through a final battle, but through negotiation. Zheng Yisao was only 35 when she surrendered. She opened a gambling house in Canton. Some accounts say she also operated an opium business. She married Zhang Bao, who entered his new military career with the same determination he had shown as a pirate. He rose rapidly through the ranks. Then, in 1822, he died at sea. He was only 36. Zheng Yisao raised their children in comfort and remained connected to coastal trade through her former pirate networks. She reportedly remained influential in the salt business for years. She lived through the First Opium War and watched foreign warships enter the same waters that her fleet had once dominated. In 1844, she died peacefully in her bed. She was 68 or 69, wealthy, free, and surrounded by family. Zheng Yisao's story sounds almost impossible. A former sex worker from a flower boat in Canton Harbor became the leader of the largest pirate fleet in recorded history. She defeated the Chinese Imperial Navy, faced the Portuguese, negotiated with the British, commanded 1,800 ships, and then walked away from piracy with her wealth and her freedom intact. But beneath all of it was one remarkable machine, the Chinese junk, a flat-bottomed ship, bamboo-reinforced sails, watertight compartments, a centrally mounted rudder, a shallow draft, a design refined by Chinese shipbuilders. For more than 2,000 years, it could survive damage, move through shallow waters, carry hundreds of men, mount dozens of cannons, and disappear into coastal channels where larger warships could not follow. The junk did not simply carry Zheng Yi Cao's pirates, it made their empire possible. When people talk about the golden age of piracy, they often remember Blackbeard. 4 ships, about 300 men, but on the other side of the world, a woman commanded something on an entirely different scale. 1,800 ships, and every single one was a junk. That is what makes Zheng Yi Cao's story so extraordinary. Her empire was not built around a famous European warship. It was built around a Chinese vessel that had been evolving for more than 2,000 years. The junk was not merely transportation, it was the foundation of an empire. And Zheng Yi Cao understood exactly how powerful it could become. The next time someone tells you about the golden age of piracy and mentions Blackbeard's 4 ships, remember what was happening on the other side of the world. A woman was commanding 1,800, and every one of them was a junk.